Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Hey. Gaura Premanandi. This morning on this most holy occasion, we're all very fortunate to be here together in great association, devotees of Krishna, hearing about the Lord's appearance, because in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if we just understand these things properly, then we don't have to take birth again in this material world. Instead, we go where Krishna is. Going back home, back to Godhead ki. Shri Krishna Janmastami ki. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this morning we'll read from Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada's summary study of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Chapter 3 is entitled The Birth of Lord Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that his appearance, birth, and activities are all transcendental, and that one who understands them factually becomes immediately eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord's appearance or birth is not like that of an ordinary man who is forced to accept a material body according to his past deeds. The Lord's appearance is explained in the 2nd chapter. He appears out of his own sweet pleasure. When the time was mature for the appearance of the Lord, the constellations became very auspicious. This astrological influence of the star known as Rohini was predominant. This star is considered to be very auspicious and is under the direct supervision of Brahma. According to the astrological conclusion, besides the proper situation of the stars, there are auspicious and inauspicious moments due to the different situations of the different planetary systems. At the time of Krishna's birth, the planetary systems were automatically adjusted so that everything became auspicious. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in this connection that when Lord Krishna appeared, the moon was full. We find a number of contradictory things in the Bhagavatam about this. Which day was the Lord born on? The 8th day, Ashtami. When is the moon full on the Ashtami? Never happens. We also find that the sky was clear and there were stars twinkling in the firmament. But it's also described that there were clouds rumbling like the ocean. So how do we find that there are stars twinkling in the sky when it's covered by clouds that rumble like the ocean? Similarly, we find the moon was full even though it's not full on the Ashtami ever. So it's described that the moon was so jubilant on this occasion because the moon understood that the Lord is going to appear in my dynasty. Therefore, the moon became automatically full, even though it never happens. And similarly, here Srila Prabhupada is explaining, in brief, all these stars all became auspicious. Of course, it cannot be inauspicious when the Lord appears. Neither can it be that the Lord appears due to auspicious circumstances, the way that we do. We appear by a combination of inauspicious and auspicious karmas that we've performed in the past. Therefore, when we take birth, all the stars are aligned exactly in accordance with our karma. It's a set paradigm. It happens again and again and again, but it's a static paradigm. It's a mundane paradigm. When the Lord appears, it's not like that. The constellations, the stars, the planets, they all become auspicious, but only out of jubilation and out of desire to serve the Lord. So this is all packed into this paragraph that we've just read. So at that time, in all directions, east, west, south, north, everywhere, there was an atmosphere of peace and prosperity. Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkanath Ki Jai. There were auspicious stars visible in the sky and on the surface of the earth, in all towns and villages and pasturing grounds, because pasturing grounds are important. You can't just have towns and villages. Why? You need to eat. You need to drink milk. You need to eat some grains. Those grains have to be farmed. Somebody has to farm them. Someone has to take care of the cows. Someone has to take care of the land. This was the occupational duty of Lord Krishna's chosen family. He chose to appear amidst the cowherds. So, therefore, Gokula means actually a dynasty of cows. So Krishna appeared there. In fact, his own planet is called Goloka. What does Goloka mean? Cow world. He names his own planet after his devotees. He doesn't care for himself. He knows. He's confident of his own position. Why do we seek after profit, adoration, and distinction in this mundane realm? Because we're not confident of our position. Because our position is not safe. At any time, we can lose everything. Maranarti richyate. And what could be worse than that? Even worse than death. To lose your good karma. Actually, most of us are running only on good karma. We think it's Krishna consciousness, but we've not even stepped outside of the bodily concept of life yet. And at that point only, Krishna says in chapter 18, Krishna consciousness begins. So that's the significance of all these things. The stars have to be auspicious, otherwise we're not auspicious. When the stars are inauspicious, our whole consciousness changes. I've seen it happen. So everyone became auspicious out of the desire to jubilantly serve the Lord and to glorify Him by their own conditional natures, whether they be stars or planets or earth or other demigods. So there were signs of good fortune everywhere. And within the minds of everyone, there were signs of good fortune within our minds. Bhadram karne bhishranyama deva. The Shruti mantra tells us, your mind should be full only of auspicious things. You should see only auspicious things. You should hear only auspicious things. That's the natural state. But in conditional life, because we're trying to do something unnatural, therefore our minds become filled with inauspiciousness. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj has this wonderful prayer in the 5th canto describing how the residents of which place? Yeah, Jambudvip. But which division of Jambudvip? Anybody remember? Harivarsha, I think it is. They worship Lord Narasimhadev following Prahlad Maharaj with what prayer? The prayer that's written on the birthplace of Lord Krishna. Over the doorway of the temple to the Krishna Janmastami, you find this verse. Swasti astu vishvasya. May the whole universe be auspicious. Khala prasidatam. But since empowering the entire universe means empowering the demons also, he has to qualify. Khalu prasidatam. May the demons be pacified. What is the next line? Dhyayantu bhutani shivam mithodhya. May all living beings think of each other's welfare. This is what we've just read. Everybody had auspicious thoughts in their mind. But how can you have auspicious thoughts in your mind when your mind is polluted, contaminated? Mind means heart. In Sanskrit, there's no difference. When your heart is full of inauspicious infections, then how can you think very kindly of others? How can you have auspicious thoughts? Therefore, he says, Manashya bhadram bhajatad adhokshaje. Our minds may become auspicious. How? By worshipping Adhokshaja, the transcendental Lord. And how do we worship that transcendental Lord? He goes further. Anybody know the final line? Aveshyatam no matir api ahetuki. May our minds become absorbed in this devotion, ahetuki, without any motive. With hetu. Hetu means you've got an agenda or a motive. You've got a plan. So you're calculating in terms of what's in it for you. So without that, he says, we should practice devotional service, and then everything becomes auspicious. So the rivers were flowing, full of waters. The lakes were beautifully decorated with lotus flowers. The forests were full with beautiful birds and peacocks. Here in America, we have, sometimes you go to these apartment complexes, and they dye the water blue so that it looks supposedly nice. When I see it, I just think it looks carcinogenic. But there are no lotus flowers growing in such water, and it's not surprising. You can hardly find real water now. We have to drink spring water that you buy from the market, because we were talking the other day. There's a Los Angeles River. Did anybody know about it? There are two rivers flowing through Los Angeles. What are they? The San Gabriel River and the Los Angeles River. And we passed La Bayona Creek nearby. We know at least that much. All of them has become sewers because it's Kali Yuga. And way back in the first canto, Shukdev Goswami described what is the nature. How does he characterize Kali Yuga? Sattva haram. Sattva hara. It removes anything sattvic. It's taken out in the Kali Yuga. So, along with sattva guna, all the purity has been lost. So our so-called rivers now, anywhere you go in the world, practically speaking, river means sewer, including Yamuna. That's another topic we don't have time to dilate on. Even Ganga, even Yamuna. These rivers are... 20 years ago, the Yamuna River was declared a dead river by the United Nations. How do you kill a goddess? It's something to think about. Because everything exists on three levels, Bhagavatam says. Adibhautic existence, adhidaivik existence, and adhyatmic existence. Adibhautic means physical. You only perceive water because of being on the Annamaya platform. Therefore, you perceive only, the only value of the Yamuna, or any other river for that matter, is, I need water to wash my car, to flush my toilet. This is what we do with water. And we can't see beyond that. But a person with adhidaivik vision sees that actually these things are sacred substances. They are deities personifying them. We have to be respectful of our own position and respectful of the Lord's property. Ishavasya-midam sarvam ityadi, as the Ishopanishad tells us. And then the best thing is adhyatmic. Aside from seeing that this river is a goddess, every river is, either a major goddess or a minor goddess, then we have adhyatmic appreciation. She is one of the most beloved internal associates of Lord Krsna in Vrindavan. How can you imagine Braja Lila without Yamuna? So, all the lakes, all the flowers, lotus flowers were blooming there, the rivers were flowing, because if a river doesn't flow, then that's another problem. Then the prana is interrupted, and then it becomes a dead river. This has happened long ago in most rivers. We dam them up for our own our own adibhautic purposes. Okay, so the forests were full with beautiful birds and peacocks. Those who have been to Vrindavan, in your mind, you can almost hear the peacocks even now. All the birds within the forest began to sing with sweet voices. What kind of birds in Vrindavan? Who sings with sweet voices? Not parrots. Definitely not parrots. Somebody introduced them here in Los Angeles. You find squadrons of these squawking green parrots flying through Los Angeles as well. They were originally pets, but now they've become, what do you call them? I guess feral. Anyway, in Vrindavan we have Parrots, bright, beautiful green parrots in green trees, but they don't sing so nicely. Who sings nicely? Kokila. Woo-hoo! It's hard to imitate. I don't have that ability. Anyway, all the birds within the forest began to sing with sweet voices, and the peacocks began to dance along with their consorts. The wind blew very pleasantly, carrying the aroma of different flowers, and the sensation of bodily touch was very pleasing. At home, the brahmanas, who were accustomed to offering sacrifices in the fire, found their homes very pleasant for offerings. Due to disturbances created by the demoniac kings, the sacrificial fire had been almost stopped in the houses of the brahmanas. But now they could find the opportunity to start the fire perfectly. Actually, everyone in their home has to keep a fire going all the time, at least a small diya. Those who are very traditional, they still do this. It's not considered a home without that. Now, this is what he's talking about here. So, being forbidden to offer sacrifices, the brahmanas had been very much distressed in mind, intelligence, and activities. But just on the point of Krishna's appearance, automatically their minds became full of joy because they could hear transcendental vibrations in the sky proclaiming the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavan Sri Krishna ki, Janmastami Mahotsava ki. The denizens of the Gandharva and Kinnara planets began to sing. Who are the Gandharvas? What are Gandharvas? What's a Gandharva? Heavenly musicians, the musicians in the heavenly world. And Kinnaras, what are they? What does Kinnara mean? Kim Nara. What kind of man is this? Because when you see them, Kim Purushas also they're called. What kind of person is this? Because they often have human bodies but animal heads. And you can't figure it out. What a Kinnara? Is it a man or is it what is this? So they're also a class of minor demigods. Apparently they're also very expert in these kinds of performing arts. So they're all dancing and singing. The denizens of Siddhaloka and the planets of the Charanas began to offer prayers in the service of the personality of Godhead. Siddhaloka, that's where all the perfected sages go. When you're perfect in Gyan, then you can hang out in Siddhaloka. As there's no real ultimate benefit in that, but when people are not quite ready for bhakti yet, that's what they do. Who are the Charanas? Charanas. Sometimes they're also called bandis. They praise kings and great demigods. They professional poets. Elsewhere in the 10th canto, Srila Prabhupada comments that Yashoda Mai, she used to hire poets like this. Used to be you could hire poets to versify whatever you wanted them to versify, and they would do like that. So she hired some poets, and they were glorifying her son's activities. Sometimes she herself wrote the poems, because those who are in that class, they can do that. Anyway, these are the Charanas. All of them are glorifying the Lord. The Siddhas, the great perfected sages, the Vandis, etc., etc. In the heavenly planets, the angels and their wives, along with the Vidyadharas and their wives, began to dance. Vidyadhara means somebody who bears Vidya. What does Vidya mean? Knowledge. It also means mantras. They're very expert in these things, Vidya. The great sages and the demigods, being pleased, began to shower flowers. At the seashore, there was the sound of mild waves, and above the sea there were clouds in the sky, which began to thunder very pleasingly. Here we've had a drought for a long time. In many places in the world, actually, there's drought right now. Many places. Sometimes really bad drought. So when we hear the rumbling of thunderclouds, then it's very pleasing, especially after a long, long drought or a heavy summer. In India, the summer is very heavy. When things were adjusted like this, Lord Vishnu, who is residing within the heart of every living entity, appeared in the darkness of night as the Supreme Personality of Godhead before Devaki, who appeared as one of the demigoddesses. Was Devaki a demigoddess? She was, previously. What is her demigoddess form? Vasudeva and Devaki, 3 births the Lord has given them, his association. One is Vasudeva Devaki, and the other is Drona-datta. Drona and Dhara. These are demigods. And who's the other one? Kashyapa, Aditi. These 3 forms. And of course, there's always, throughout Vedic literature, we find 3 plus 1 categories of things. Just like there are 3 Vedas plus the Atharva Veda, which consists of nothing but other Vedas. Just like there are 3 worldly orders and the otherworldly order, sannyas. Similarly, there are 3 forms of the Lord's parents, Vasudeva Devaki, Kashyapa Aditi, and Dronantara. But then there's the ultimate form, which is Nanda Yashoda. You see? So anyway, the Lord and his parents, all of his associates, they have different forms in different places, times, and circumstances. So, therefore, it was not difficult for Devaki to appear as one of the demigoddesses. The appearance of Lord Vishnu at that time could be compared to the rising of the full moon over the eastern horizon. The objection may be raised that since Lord Krishna appeared on the 8th day of the waning moon, there could be no rising of the full moon. In answer to this, it may be said that Lord Krishna appeared in the dynasty in which which is in the hierarchy of the moon. Therefore, although the moon was incomplete on that night, because of the Lord's appearance and the dynasty wherein the moon himself is the original person, the moon was in an overjoyous condition, so by the grace of Krishna, he could appear just like a full moon. In an astronomical treatise by the name of Kamarnikya, the constellations at that time of the appearance of Lord Krishna are very nicely described. It is confirmed that the child born at that auspicious moment was the Supreme Brahman, or the Absolute Truth. Why is he referring to this astronomical treatise? Because it's not in the Bhagavatam. The constellation of Rohini is not mentioned because it's explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The reason it's not mentioned in the Bhagavatam is because there is some Shastric injunction which says, on an auspicious occasion of someone's birth, you should not mention the nakshatra. You should not mention the constellation. Therefore, he has to refer to this in order to get this information. Vasudeva saw that wonderful child born as a baby with 4 hands, holding conch shell, club, disc, and lotus flower, decorated with the mark of Shri Vatsa. What does Shri Vatsa mean? Shri Vatsa, the jewel that the Lord wears on his chest. But again, we find bovine language at every step in Sanskrit. Shri Vatsa, beautiful calf. Vatsa means calf. Therefore we get Vatsalya Rasa, because the love that a cow feels for a calf is called Vatsalya, because calf is Vatsa. The jeweled necklace of the Kaustubha stone, dressed in yellow silk, appearing dazzling like a bright blackish cloud, wearing a helmet bedecked with the Vaidurya stone. What kind of stone is Vaidurya? It's a very beautiful stone which we don't find in this world. It gleams with yellow effulgence and red effulgence and blue effulgence, all at the same time. This is Vaidurya. Krishna has such things. So he's also wearing valuable bracelets, earrings, and similar other ornaments all over his body. They're made out of gold. Due to the extraordinary features of the child, Vasudeva was struck with wonder. How could a newly born child be so decorated? Vasudeva could therefore understand that Lord Krishna had now appeared, and he became overpowered by the occasion. Vasudeva very humbly wondered that although he was an ordinary living entity, conditioned by material nature, and was externally imprisoned by Kamsa, the all-pervading personality of Godhead Vishnu, or Krishna, had appeared as a child in his home, exactly in his original position. No earthly child is born with 4 hands, decorated with ornaments and nice clothing, fully equipped with all the signs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Over and over again, Vasudeva glanced at his child, and he considered how to celebrate this auspicious moment. Generally, when a male child is born, he thought, people observe the occasion with jubilant celebrations. And in my home, although I am imprisoned, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has taken birth. How many millions and millions of times should I be prepared to observe this auspicious ceremony? When Vasudeva, who is also called Anakadundabhi, was looking at his newborn baby, he was so happy that he wanted to give away many thousands of cows in charity to the Brahmanas. We value dollars more than cows. That's why we don't usually give thousands of dollars, sometimes, but generally we give dollars instead of cows. In a real economy, the basis of the economy is cows. Therefore, cows are more valued. That's why it's called Gokula. That's why he's called Gopala. Go Brahmana Hitayacha. You cannot have Krishna without the cows, the Brahmins, etc. According to the Vedic system, whenever there is an auspicious ceremony, in the Kshatriya king's palace, out of joy the king gives many things in charity. Cows decorated with golden ornaments are delivered to the Brahmanas and sages. Vasudeva wanted to perform a charitable ceremony to celebrate Krishna's appearance, but because he was shackled within the walls of Kamsa's prison, this was not possible. Instead, within his mind, he gave thousands of cows to the Brahmanas. Raise your hand if you have been in the prison where Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago. You all know, you can picture within your mind. It's very difficult to get there on Janmastami. Maybe if you go first thing in the morning, I've noticed. If you go early morning, the crowd is very less. If the later you go, Indians are night people, it's almost impossible. So in this place, he was shackled to the wall. What can you do when you're shackled to the wall? The devotional service is ahaitaki apratihata. Apratihata means it cannot be checked because it's ahaitaki. We've already heard from Prahlad Maharaj the value of ahaitaki bhakti, bhakti without a motive. When you have no motive, you have no interruption also. So even in this constrained condition, Vasudeva was able to offer charity, at least in his mind. Of course, if we have the facility to offer charity, in fact, we should do that, not just mental charity. Just like the recent Sadhu Sangha retreat, Shachinandan Maharaj was giving a lecture. He said, just like prasadam, nobody likes to take manasik prasadam. Everybody likes to have a real plate of prasadam. Manasik prasadam is not really enough. So in the same way. When Vasudeva was convinced that the newborn child was the Supreme Personality of God himself, he bowed down with folded hands and began to offer him prayers. At that time, Vasudeva was in the transcendental position, and he became completely free from all fear of Kamsa. The newborn baby was also flashing his effulgence within the room in which he appeared. Vasudeva then began to offer his prayers. My dear Lord, I can understand who you are. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supersoul of all living entities, and the Absolute Truth. You have appeared in your own eternal form, which is directly perceived by us. I understand that because I am afraid of Kamsa, you have appeared just to deliver me from that fear. You do not belong to this material world. You are the same person who brings about the cosmic manifestation simply by glancing over material nature. We can't think of saying things like this when we offer prayers. We can't think like this. The reason we can't think like that is because we don't have the experience that Vasudeva has. Something in Vasudev's experience gives him the wisdom to, or the intuition at least, to understand why Krishna has appeared, to deliver him from fear. Paritranaya sadhunam. And that he is the same person who is bringing about the cosmic manifestation age after age after age. He can see like this. Therefore it's called darshan. What we read in the books, this is actually called darshan, because it should proceed from what we've seen. When we come to the state that Ramapad Swami explained the other day, Vasudeva Sattva, pure goodness, then we can have such experiences as Vasudeva by following in his footsteps. One may argue that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who creates the whole cosmic manifestation simply by his glance, cannot come within the womb of Devaki, the wife of Vasudeva. To eradicate this argument, Vasudeva said, "My dear Lord, it is not a very wonderful thing that you have appeared within the womb of Devaki, because the creation was also made in that way. You were lying in the causal ocean as Mahavishnu, and by your breathing process, innumerable universes came into existence. You then entered into each of the universes as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu." What does Garbhodakashayi Vishnu mean? Garbhodaka? Garbha. What does Garbha mean? It means womb only. It only means womb. So Garbhodaka, the ocean that functions as a womb of the whole cosmic manifestation, he enters into this. And then you again expanded yourself as Kshirodakashayi Vishnu and entered into the hearts of all living entities, and even into the atoms. Therefore, your entrance into the womb of Devaki is understandable in the same way. What is that way called? Achintya Shakti. Achintya Shakti. It's the cornerstone of Gaudiya Vaishnava Darshan, our particular view of the Supreme Lord. Achintya Shakti. He has this Achintya Shakti. Without recognizing and appreciating and ultimately realizing this Lord's Achintya Shakti, we cannot have any real conception of God. You appear to have entered, but you are simultaneously all-pervading. We can understand your entrance and non-entrance from material examples. The total material energy remains intact, even after being divided into 16 elements. The material body is nothing but the combination of the 5 gross elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Whenever there is a material body, it appears that such elements are newly created, but actually the elements are always existing outside of the body. Similarly, although you have appeared as a child in the womb of the Devaki, you are also existing outside. Everybody got this? Where does your body come from? From your parents. Where do your parents' bodies come from? From their parents. What are all these bodies made out of? They're made out of combinations of earth, water, fire, air, ether. Where's the original stock of these 5 elements? It's all around us. Our bodies are a little bit porous, at least according to Ayurveda. It's understood. You're absorbing energy from the moon, especially. What does Krishna say about this in Bhagavad Gita? Gam avishya cha bhutani dharyamyaham ojasa. By ojas. Ojas means potency, virility. By ojas, I support the entire cosmic manifestation. And where does the ojas come from? Somo bhutva rasatmakaha. I become Soma, the moon. And through the moon, this ojas is created in the human body. The moon's rays have this effect, according to Ayurveda. The sun's rays, they have tejas, ashesha teja, Brahma Samhita says, infinite power. But it's a heavy energy. It can, if you spend too much time in the sun, it can hurt you. Moon is always beneficial. So, and these, not only the moon, not only the sun, not only the wind, air is another one. Kapha, Pitta, Vayu it's called. But all the elements also, they're constantly moving in and out. of our material bodies. Just like when we eat something, we're also drinking something. So there is earth there is also fire there's also water there, like this. Therefore, he's giving this example. You have already expanded yourself outside and inside, so it's no problem for you to do so again by entering your own devotee, Devaki. This is his idea. You are always in your abode, but still you can simultaneously expand yourself into millions of forms, millions of them. One has to understand your appearance with great intelligence because the material energy is also emanating from you. You are the original source of the material energy, just as the sun is the source of the sunshine. The sunshine cannot cover the sun globe, nor can the material energy, being an emanation from you, cover you. You appear to be in the three modes of material energy, but actually the three modes of material energy cannot cover you. This is understood by the highly intellectual philosophers. In other words, although you appear to be within the material energy, you are never covered by it. This is an easy thing we can understand, at least in theory. But to actually get this insight, that takes quite some time. Generally, it takes some time. And it takes careful study as well. We hear from the Vedic version that the Supreme Brahman exhibits his effulgence, and therefore everything becomes illuminated. There's one explanation, maybe somebody can refresh my memory, I think. I'm fuzzy on the detail. Somebody asked Srila Prabhupada why the sky was blue. And Prabhupada said the sky, the light in this world is actually in representation of the Brahma Jyoti. And where does the Brahma Jyoti come from? Brahma Jyoti is the effulgence of Krishna's body. And Krishna is blue. Therefore the sky is blue. We can understand from the Brahma Samhita that the Brahma Jyoti or the Brahman effulgence emanates from the body of the Supreme Lord. And from the Brahman effulgence, all creation takes place. Is that right? Everything comes out of Brahma Jyoti, correct? Yes. It is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord is the support of the Brahman effulgence. Who knows the verse? Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Krishna says, I am the pratishta, I am the foundation of this Brahman. Therefore, originally, he is the root cause of everything. But persons who are less intelligent think that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes within this material world, he accepts the material qualities. Such conclusions are not very mature, but are made by the less intelligent. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is directly and indirectly existing everywhere. He is outside this material creation, and he is also within it. He is within this material creation not only as Garbhodaka Shayi Vishnu, he is also within the atom. The existence of the atom is due to his presence. Nothing can be separated from his existence. In the Vedic injunctions, we find that the Supreme Soul, or the root cause of everything, has to be searched out because nothing exists independently of the Supreme Soul. Therefore, the material manifestation is also a transformation of his potency. Both inert matter and the living force, the soul, are emanations from him. Only the foolish conclude that when the Supreme Lord appears, he accepts the conditions of matter. Even if he appears to have accepted a material body, he is still not subjected to any material condition. Are you noticing something here? What does Prabhupada keep doing throughout the entire paragraph? He keeps saying the same thing over and over and over again in different ways. He keeps making the same point. Although the Lord appears to be materially conditioned, he's not so. He's above matter. This is the point. Because although we accept these things, theoretically, those of us who have faith, ours is only a truth of faith until we advance enough that we actually realize these things. Then we can speak prayers the way that Vasudeva is doing here. Out of our own experience. Yaswanu bhavam akila shruti saram ekam. It's described in the first canto. offering prayers to the speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He's really only elaborating on his own experience. Swanubhava. Swa-anubhava. Anubhava means experience. This is the key. Therefore, it's not just a dogma. It's darshan. Darshan means to actually see it. This is the idea. Dogma means siddhanta, but darshan means swanubhava, to see. Okay. Krishna has therefore appeared and defeated all imperfect conclusions about the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My Lord, this is Vasudeva continuing, your appearance, existence, and disappearance are beyond the influence of the material qualities. Because your Lordship is the Supreme Brahman and the controller of everything, there is nothing inconceivable or contradictory in you. This is the point that Jiva Goswami devotes most of his Bhagavad Sandarbha to establishing. We see contradictions everywhere in the Shastra. We see contradictions everywhere in the world. We see contradictions everywhere, period. Because that is the nature of the absolute truth. Achintya bheda abheda. That is a contradiction. But it's resolved inconceivably by the inconceivable potency of the Lord, Achintya Shakti. And ultimately the Achintya Shakti means the Lord's energy. Who is the supreme energy of the Lord? Everyone knows. Hladini Shakti, Srimati Radharani. All these things are expanded from her. Lakshmi Devi, Madhvacharya prays to Lord Vishnu. In fact, he's praying to Lakshmi Devi, but he puts it as if it were a prayer to Lord Vishnu. He says, Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sarga Maha Vibhutte Vritti Prakasha Niyamavrata Bandha Mokshaha Yasya Apangalava Matrata Urjita Sa Shrir Yat Kataksha Balavati Ajitam Namami. I offer my respectful obeisances unto this Ajita, this unconquered Supreme Lord, because by a mere sidelong glance of his Mahalakshmi, his own consort, we find that creation, maintenance, annihilation, Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, Sarga, subcreation, Mahavibhuti, the great elements, the great wonders of this world, Vritti, your occupations, Prakasha, your enlightenment, Niyama, your discipline, Avrata, your covering. Sometimes we're also in the mode of ignorance. Bandha, moksha, we're in bondage, we're liberated. All these things proceed from her sidelong glance. This is the power of the Lord's inconceivable potency. Therefore, supposedly we're devotees of Krishna, but actually we are devotees of Srimati Radharani. Because what is the meaning of Shaktiman without Shakti? Especially Bhakti Shakti. Okay. Nothing is inconceivable or contradictory in you, even though everything is ultimately inconceivable and contradictory. As you have said, material nature works under your superintendence, just like a government officer working under the orders of the chief executive. Where does it say this? As you have said, material nature works under your superintendence. What is the word in Hindi? What is it? You see, Adhyaksh, superintendent's office. See? Mayadhyakshena prakriti, Krishna says. Just like a government officer working under the orders of the chief executive, the influence of subordinate activities cannot affect you. This is again the same point he's making. Since you are the Supreme Brahman, everything is existing within you, and since all the activities of material nature are controlled by your lordship, none of these activities affect you. You're called Shuklam. Shuklam, or whiteness, is the symbolic representation of the absolute truth because it is unaffected by material qualities. White. As soon as you adulterate white, it's no longer white. It becomes something else. Beige, maybe gray, something. Or some pastel color perhaps. But white means pure. This is the point. Therefore, he's making this point. Lord Brahma is called Rakta, or red, because Brahma represents the quality of passion for creation. Passion means change, and change means creation and destruction. Darkness is entrusted to Lord Shiva because he annihilates the cosmos. The creation, annihilation, and maintenance of this cosmic manifestation are conducted by your potencies, yet you are always unaffected by those qualities. As confirmed in the Vedas, Harirhi Nirgunaha Sakshat. Where's that verse? Harirhi Nirgunaha Sakshat. It's in Bhagavatam, actually. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always free from all material qualities. It is also said that the qualities of passion and ignorance are non-existent in the person of the Supreme Lord. My Lord, you are the Supreme Controller, the Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Great, maintaining the order of this cosmic manifestation. Yet in spite of your being the Supreme Controller, you have so kindly appeared in my home. Just like the deity. When we properly install the deity under the directions of the Acharya, he kindly appears in the temple or even in one's home as well. He's ready to do this. This is his causeless mercy. Therefore we say Archa Vigraha Avatara. He's actually an avatara, a descent of the Lord. The purpose of your appearance is to kill the followers of the demoniac rulers of the world, who are in the dress of royal princes but are actually demons. I'm sure that you will kill all of them and their followers and soldiers. Bhagavan Shri Krishna ki jai. Vinashaya chadushkritam, in other words. What does Kunti Devi say? Shri Krishna Krishna Sakha Vrishnisha Bhavani Drug Rajanya Vamsha Dahana. You burn them all down. All the whole Vamsha you burn down, these demons. I understand that you have appeared in order to kill the uncivilized Kamsa and his followers. But knowing that you were to appear in order to kill him and his followers, he has already killed so many of your predecessors, your elder brothers. Now he is simply awaiting the news of your birth. As soon as he hears about it, he will immediately appear with all kinds of weapons to kill you. So this is Vasudev's prayer, and after we glorify the Lord, then we may present some requests. So he's intimating his request, which is, please do something that he doesn't hurt you. Why does he think that after describing that the Lord is unaffected by Maya, how does he think that the Lord is going to be hurt by Kamsa? This is another inconceivable thing. What is the explanation? There is one. By love. His love is love trumps reason. Sorry to use that word, but love overpowers reason. This is the point. Love is always more powerful than reason. That's why bhakti works and other things don't work, because bhakti is love, pure love, ahaitaki love, as Prahlad Maharaj has defined. So, even though he understands, this is the difference between Vasudeva Devaki and Nanda Yashoda. Vasudeva Devaki have some understanding that the Lord is the Supreme Person. But he still has this parental love, and he feels he's got to do something. Now the mothers usually are even more so. So let's hear what Devaki says. After this prayer of Vasudeva, Devaki, the mother of Krishna, offered her prayers. She was very frightened because of her brother's atrocities. Devaki said, "My dear Lord, your eternal forms like Narayana, Lord Ram, Hayashirsha." Who is Hayashirsha? Horse head. He looks like one of the Kinnaras, but actually he's an incarnation. Hayagriva. Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, Baladev, and millions of similar incarnations emanating from Vishnu are described in the Vedic literature as original. You are original because all your forms as incarnations are outside of this material creation. Your form was existing before this cosmic manifestation was created. Your forms are eternal and all-pervading. They're also self-effulgent, changeless, and uncontaminated by the material qualities. Any one of these adjectives that she's describing, we can spend days elaborating. Such eternal forms are ever cognizant and full of bliss. They are situated in transcendental goodness and are always engaged in different pastimes. You are not limited to a particular form only. All such transcendental, eternal forms are self-sufficient. I can understand that you are the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. After many millions of years, when Lord Brahma comes to the end of his life, the annihilation of the cosmic manifestation takes place. At that time, the 5 elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, ether, enter into the Mahat-tattva. What is the Mahat-tattva? The repository of all elements. The Mahat-tattva then enters by the force of time into the total, or the non-manifested total material energy, and the total energy enters into the energetic pradhan, and the pradhan enters into you. Therefore, after the annihilation of the whole cosmic manifestation, you alone remain with your transcendental name, form, qualities, and paraphernalia. My Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you are the director of the unmanifested total energy and the ultimate reservoir of the material nature. My Lord, the whole cosmic manifestation is under the influence of time, beginning from the moment up to the duration of the year. How long is a year? Well, it depends on whose year, isn't it? A year can be a very long time. A moment can be a very long time. And there are subdivisions of even moments as well. We don't have these in English. We don't have the words for these divisions of time in English because we don't have the concepts yet. That's why the word is not required. So, she's talking about time. All act under your direction. You are the original director of everything and the reservoir of all potent energies. All the conditioned souls are continually fleeing from one body to another and one planet to another, yet they do not get free of the onslaught of birth and death. Why are we fleeing from one body to another? Do you know what it's like to die? Do you remember? You've died before. All of us have, but we don't remember. But when the body becomes intolerable, then we leave. Sometimes people leave of their own volition. I've seen it happen. It seems as if my father left that way. It's well known. I've had many discussions with nurses in hospitals, and they've told me, we know these things. We know that so many things happen, we know about them, but it's not in our books, so we don't talk about them. But so many things happen. Sometimes people can choose the time that they leave. And therefore Prabhupada also chooses this language here, fleeing from one body to another. You can't stand it anymore in one body, so you just, anything's better than this. And that's when you take another body. See? This is coming attractions. It's for sure. So best to prepare. When one of these fearful living entities comes under the shelter of your lotus feet, he can lie down without anxiety of being attacked by formidable death. This statement by Devaki is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself. There the Lord says that even after traveling all over the universe, from Brahmaloka to Patalaloka, one cannot escape the attack of birth, death, disease, and old age. Here Prabhupada is using another very carefully chosen word, attack. We're being attacked by these things from time to time. Why do we have to keep dying? Why do we have to keep getting sick? Why do we keep getting old? Why do we keep taking birth again? Because we're under siege. We're attacked by the material nature. These are the prongs of the trident of Maya, these kinds of miseries. So, one who enters the kingdom of God, the Lord says, is never again obliged to come to the material world. Therefore, my Lord, I request you to save me from the cruel hands of Kamsa, the son of Ugrasena. I am praying to your lordship to please give protection to your servitors. The Lord has confirmed this statement in the Bhagavad Gita by assuring Arjuna, you may declare to the world, my devotee shall never be vanquished. Now, why is she praying that she can be saved? This doesn't seem to be, we hear that devotees should not ask for anything for themselves, right? Why is she asking? Nobody has? Huh? That's right. It's the same thing. This is where there's a conflict in Vasudeva and Devaki between the Yogamaya and the Aishwarya Gyan. They have some Aishwarya Gyan, but they also have the Madhurya experience. Madhurya meaning the intoxication by the Lord's sweetness in a parental way. So they're conflicted inside. She's praying that she can become rescued from this fearful condition because she has to take care of him. This is her attitude. While thus praying to the Lord for rescue, Mother Devaki nonetheless expressed her motherly affection. I can understand that this transcendental form is generally perceived in meditation by the great sages, but I am still afraid, because as soon as Kamsa understands that you have appeared, he might harm you. So I request that for the time being, you become invisible to our material eyes. In other words, she requested the Lord to assume the form of an ordinary child. My only cause of fear from my brother Kamsa is due to your appearance. My dear Lord Madhusudan, I wish that Kamsa may not learn that you were already born. Therefore I request you to conceal this four-armed form of your lordship, which holds the four symbols of Vishnu, namely the conch shell, the disc, the club, and the lotus flower. My dear Lord, at the end of the annihilation of the cosmic manifestation, you put the whole universe within your abdomen. Still, by your unalloyed mercy, you have appeared in my womb. I am surprised that you imitate the activities of ordinary human beings just to please your devotee. Not just paritranaya sadhunam, not just to deliver the devotee, also to please devotees. Some siddhir, bhaktatoshanam, we can say. He is meticulously pleased by pleasing his devotees. That's all that he does, actually, all day long. He's got no program other than that. Natasya kardyam, kaj. Kardyam means work that we have to do. So he's thinking like this. She's thinking like this. So then comes her request. On hearing the prayers of Devaki, the Lord replied, my dear mother, in the millennium of Swayambhuva Manu, my father, Vasudeva, was living as one of the Prajapatis. His name at that time was Sutapa, and you were his wife named Prishni. So this is another form. Sutapa Prishni, they were Prajapatis. At that time when Lord Brahma was desiring to increase the population, he requested you to generate offspring. You controlled your senses and performed severe austerities. By practicing the breathing exercises of the yoga system, both you and your husband could tolerate all the influences of the material laws. The rainy season, the onslaught of the wind, and the scorching heat of the sunshine. These are all the things that they were tolerating when they were executing their austerities. We have to tolerate. You also executed all religious principles. In this way, you were able to cleanse your heart and control the influences of the material laws. In executing your austerity, you used to eat only the leaves of the trees which fell to the ground. Then with a steady mind and controlled sex drive, you worshipped me, desiring some wonderful benediction from me. How do we worship Krishna with a controlled sex drive? Garbhadan samskara. This is what they were doing. He's indicating this. Now, of course, in their case, they were desiring some wonderful benediction. What was that wonderful benediction? We want a son like you. That's wonderful. Both of you practiced severe austerities for 12,000 years by the calculations of the demigods, not human years, demigod years. That's a long, long time. During that time, your mind was always absorbed in me. 12,000 years, celestial years. If we have to fix our minds for 2 hours, it's very difficult, isn't it? Just think about, this is the power of focus. Dhyan. Dhyan means focus. Like sun rays. The sun rays are dissipated throughout the sky, but when you focus them through a magnifying lens, you can burn down a whole mountainside. Half the state of Southern California is burnt down in this way every summer. At least some of the time. It's arson. So, when you were executing devotional service and always thinking of me within your heart, I was very much pleased with you. O sinless mother, your heart is therefore always pure. At that time also I appeared before you in this form, just to fulfill your desire. And I asked you to ask whatever you desired. At that time you wished to have me born as your son. Although you saw me personally, instead of asking for your complete liberation from material bondage, under the influence of my energy, you asked me to become your son. Under the influence of which energy? He doesn't say. Do we know? Is it Yogamaya or is it Mahamaya? Why is she asking to have the Lord as his son? In other words, to appear in the material world, the Lord selected his father and mother, namely Prishni and Sutapa, respectively. Whenever the Lord comes as a human being, he must have a father and a mother and a father. So he selected Prishni and Sutapa to be his mother and father perpetually. And on account of this, neither Prishni nor Sutapa could ask the Lord for liberation. Liberation is not so important as the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Lord could have awarded Prishni and Sutapa immediate liberation, but he preferred to keep them within this material world for his different appearances, as will be explained in the following verses. On receiving the benediction from the Lord to become his father and mother, Sutapa and Prishni retired from the activities of austerity and lived as husband and wife in order to beget a child who was the Supreme Lord himself. So Srila Prabhupada is speaking in such a way as to indicate that they voluntarily entered the material energy or the material sphere, and that the Lord was more pleased with them in the material world than he would have been had they accepted liberation. It does seem like that. That just goes to show that there actually is no difference for a devotee between the spiritual world and the material world. Because whether we're in the material world in Los Angeles, or whether we're in the spiritual world, Goloka, or Navadvip, we're going to be serving Krishna. This is the point. And when that service is our only absorption, then it just doesn't make any difference. Narayana parasarge nakutaschana bibhyati. Sargapavarga narakeshwapi tulyardarshana. He sees the same. Whether it's the heavenly planets, whether it's the hellish planets, it doesn't make any difference. When a person is ahaituki, when he has no purpose other than Krishna's purpose, then anything is good for him. And his purpose is never frustrated, because his purpose is Krishna's purpose. Not that his purpose is Krishna's purpose, but Krishna's purpose is his purpose. There's a subtle distinction there. Okay. In due course of time, Prishni became pregnant and gave birth to the child. The Lord spoke to Devaki and Vasudeva. At that time, my name was Prishni Garbha, born from the womb of Prishni. In the next millennium, you took birth as Aditi and Kashyapa, And I became your child of the name Upendra. What does Upendra mean? Upa Indra, little Indra. Indra's little brother. That's what it means, Upendra. At that time, my form was just like a dwarf. And for this reason, I was known as Vamanadev, because Vaman we call dwarf, Vaman. I gave you the benediction that I would take birth as your son 3 times. The first time I was known as Prishni-garbha, born of Prishni and Sutapa. In the next birth I was Upendra, born of Aditi and Kashyapa. And now for the 3rd time, I am born as Krsna from you, Devaki and Vasudeva. I have appeared in this Vishnu form just to convince you that I am the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, again taken birth. I could have appeared just like an ordinary child, but in that way you would not have believed that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had taken birth in your womb. Why? Nato natyadharo yatha, Kunti Devi says. He's like a perfect actor, totally convincing act. Atyanta virambanam. Vidambana means to the letter, he's cheating everybody. Absolutely convincing act he puts on. Like as if he's an ordinary conditioned child. Everything right down to every little detail. Exactly exhibiting all the conditioned features of material existence, but he's not. This is the point. So, evidently, even Vasudeva and Devaki, Krishna's considering here, they would not have believed that their son was actually the Supreme Personality of God because his act is that good. Therefore, he's first of all taken this form, Chaturpuja form. Okay. Then, my dear father and mother, you have therefore raised me many times as your child and with great affection and love. And I am therefore very much pleased and obliged to you. And I assure you that this time you shall go back home, back to Godhead on account of your perfection in your mission. Their mission means his mission. Because they've surrendered to his mission, therefore, he's empowering. I know you are very concerned about me and afraid of Kamsa. Therefore, I order you to take me immediately to Gokula and exchange me for the daughter who has just been born to Yashoda. It's getting interesting. Having spoken thus to his mother and father, the Lord turned himself into an ordinary child in their presence and remained silent. Being ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva prepared to take his son from the delivery room, and exactly at that time, a daughter was born to Nanda and Yashoda. She was Yogamaya, the internal potency of the Lord. By the influence of this internal potency, Yogamaya, all the residents of Kamsa's palace, especially the doorkeepers, were overwhelmed with deep sleep. Have you ever been so tired, so overwhelmed with sleep, even when you're eating, you're falling asleep? Sometimes it happens. This kind of force, you cannot deal with it. You have to just succumb to the 3rd mode. And Krishna is doing this on purpose. On purpose he's doing this. He put them all out, just like that. Everybody asleep, not only in the prison house, even in Vrindavan also. Sabkoi, they fell asleep. Because Yashoda had just given birth, she was exhausted. Sometimes the fathers also. And everybody was exhausted. So they all fell asleep. And then this is Krishna's arrangement, how he does things. It's amazing how he does things. We don't know how he's going to get this thing done, whatever it is that is Krishna's purpose, whatever his mission is. We don't know how it's going to happen, but it will happen. If we play our part in the same way that Vasudeva and Devaki, who are actually Sutapa Prishni, they played their part, we just have to play our part. Nimitta matra bhava. You just have to become my instrument, he says in Bhagavad Gita. So, this was Yogamaya. And everybody fell asleep through her influence. By the influence of this internal potency, Yogamaya, all the residents of Kamsa's palace, especially the doorkeepers, were overwhelmed with deep sleep, and all the palace doors opened, although they were barred and shackled with iron chains. The night was very dark, but as soon as Vasudeva took Krishna on his lap and went out, he could see everything just as in the sunlight. Imagine that. Just as in the sunlight. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that Krishna is just like the sunlight, and that wherever there is Krishna, the illusory energy which is compared to darkness cannot remain. When Vasudeva was carrying Krishna, the darkness of the night disappeared. All the prison doors automatically opened. At the same time, there was thunder in the sky and severe rainfall. Generally, when we see stars twinkling in the sky, we don't see thunderclouds and severe rainfall. So that this is happening by Krishna's Yogamaya potency. While Vasudeva was carrying his son, Krishna, in the falling rain, Lord Shesha, in the shape of a serpent, spread his hood over the head of Vasudeva so that he would not be hampered by the rainfall. Shesha means Balaram. He comes again. Krishna is the chief hero, and Balaram always provides additional help in ways like this. Jai Balaram. Vasudeva came onto the bank of the Yamuna and saw that the water of the Yamuna was roaring with waves, and that the whole span was full of foam. Of course, nowadays it's also the whole span is full of foam again. That's another source. That's coming from Delhi. Still, in that furious feature, the river gave passage to Vasudeva to cross, just as the great Indian Ocean gave a path to Lord Ram when he was bridging over the gulf. In this way, Vasudeva crossed the river Yamuna. On the other side, he went to the palace of Nanda Maharaj, situated in Gokula, where he saw that all the cowherd men were fast asleep. He took the opportunity to silently enter the house of Yashoda, and without difficulty he exchanged his son for the baby girl newly born there. Then, after entering the house, very silently, and exchanging the boy for the girl, he returned to the prison of Kamsa and silently put the girl on the lap of Devaki. He again clamped the shackles on himself so that Kamsa could not recognize that so many things had happened. Mother Yashoda could understood that a child had been born to her, but because she was very tired from the labor of childbirth, she fell fast asleep. When she awoke, she could not remember whether she had given birth to a male or a female child. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 3rd chapter of Krishna, the birth of Lord Krishna. How could Vasudeva do this to his best friend? What did he do? He's basically killing his best friend's daughter to save the life of his own son. How could he do this? By the order of Lord Krishna, but how did he justify it? That's how we justify it. How did he justify it? This is the question. How could he do such a thing? It's a good question. Yeah, this is actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's answer. Out of love for one's own child, a parent does anything, you see. This is the influence of Yogamaya. Now, that gets back to your original answer, because it's only under the influence of Yogamaya that Vasudeva is so much overwhelmed with love. Otherwise, he has all knowledge, but his knowledge is obscured by this love, parental love. That is the function of Yogamaya only. Yogamaya, whom he has taken from his best friend. She herself arranged it. You see? So then he sneaks back into the palace. He puts the girl in Devaki's lap. He's already left his son, Krishna, with Yashoda Mai, and Yashoda doesn't know what happened either because everybody's asleep. They're asleep in the prison, they're asleep in the house. everybody gone. So, this is the wonder of Krishna Lila, the great mystery of Krishna's birth. Janmastami ki jai. It gets better and better. After this, there's another chapter, but I'm told that I should read only chapter 3, and it's already very late. So if somebody else wants to go on reading, you have my full blessings to do so, provided Archita gives permission, if you can find him. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Ki jai.